Hi, my name is Mason Waring, and I'm an attorney and partner at Chisholm, and Kilpatrick. I'm joined here today with my colleague, Leah Small, who with me practices insurance litigation here, and we focus the majority of our practice on handling ERISA and non-ERISA insurance claims. Many of those are long-term disability claims, where we represent individuals that have long-term disability insurance coverage through their employer or purchase a policy themselves, in filing claims, appeals, and handling court litigation of those claims. We're in challenging times here with the COVID-19 pandemic, and like much everything else, the landscape for long-term disability claims has changed significantly. We've seen new claims, new types of claims related to illness and injury caused by COVID-19, and we've had to change the way that we're handling claims, appeals, and court litigation of these claims to adjust to social distancing and the fact that much of the country is locked down now. So today we wanted to spend some time talking to you, providing some information that may help you with your claims, and I'll let you know that we are fully functional. Our firm is fully functioning, mainly working remote, but cases for clients. And so we're here, and we'll provide our contact information later if you want to reach out to see if we can help you with your claim. But through this video, we hope to give you some helpful information that may help you help yourself as well. So let's begin. Leah, what are some of the claims that we're seeing related specifically to COVID-19?
So a big group of a kind of new type of claim we're seeing with this pandemic is there are people who are at high risk for serious effects if they were to be infected with COVID-19. For example, there are some people who are immunocompromised either because they're undergoing treatment for something like cancer or they recently completed treatments. Some people have pre-existing serious health conditions like asthma or heart conditions. And with these conditions, they're at a high risk for, as I said, severe effects if they were to become infected. Oftentimes, these people would still be able to continue doing their jobs if it weren't for this pandemic, and now it's become unsafe for them to be in public and risking exposure. We're also seeing a lot now, especially with medical personnel like doctors or nurses who are under an intense amount of stress and high demands. They're developing severe mental health conditions in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And because of those conditions, they become unable to work.
And so, just picking up on the mental health conditions, this could be a psychiatric injury caused by dealing with the stress, or an aggravation of an existing condition caused by the stress and the difficult circumstances. Is that correct? Great. What are the types of things, or what are the types of challenges that we're seeing people face with respect to COVID-19 related long-term disability claims?
Sure. So there are a couple things. One, with the people who may, as we said, are still able to do their job, but have another serious health condition that places them at risk. Potential problem with a disability claim is that, as I said, they can still do their job. It's just they have a condition that makes exposure risky for them. So in those cases, they really need to look at their disability policies to understand what kind of coverage they have available to them. For example, there are some policies that exclude coverage or disability benefits for pre-existing conditions. And those are conditions that you had prior to your coverage going into effect that you treated for. And if you treated for it recently and your coverage just went into effect, you might not be able to get benefits for that condition, even if you aren't able to do your job. Similarly, some policies will exclude risk to health altogether as a basis for disability. So if you're otherwise capable of doing your job, it's just risky for you to do so, you might not be covered. Again, people have to read their disability policies to understand what kind of limitations or exclusions their policy might have. For people who either developed a psychiatric illness or exacerbated a psychiatric illness in response to working during this, some policies will exclude work-related injuries or illnesses from benefits. And if you only develop this because of your job and working during this pandemic, you might not be entitled to benefits either. So it's really important to read your disability policy to really understand what kind of coverage you have available to you.
So I guess to digest what the takeaways are, if someone is medically unable to work due to COVID-19, they need to read their policies really carefully. And so, and the medically enabled could be, you otherwise are okay, fine to work, but because of the risk of exposure to COVID-19, you cannot work. And they may have a claim they can make, but they need to read their policies really carefully to understand what coverage they have and what restrictions and limitations might apply. Is that a fair? Okay. And then, one thing, I guess one thing we tell people is, if you're not sure, get a claimant anyway. And so don't waste time. If you're not sure and you can reach out to a lawyer, that's great. If you're trying to go this alone, don't delay, because there can be deadlines for filing claims and limited time periods. So if you're not in a position where you're going to engage an attorney and you're handling this yourself, don't delay, because that can cause serious claim problems as well. On the topic of timing, Leah, there's the short-term disability benefits and the long-term disability benefits. Not everyone has short-term disability benefits. For example, in Rhode Island, many employers don't provide short-term disability benefits, but there's TDI. It's a government short-term disability program that can be available. But some employers do provide short-term disability and long-term disability insurance coverage. What are some of the time differences, or how do those work together, Leah?
So again, does depend on the policy. So read your policy. Typically, short-term disability will be for cover a period of 90 to 180 days of benefits. And then once the short-term disability runs out, long-term disability kicks in. If you don't have short-term disability, then typically your long-term disability policy will say there is a waiting period, which again is often 90 to 180 days before benefits will start. So short-term is supposed to cover the time period before long-term kicks in. So
hopefully this pandemic comes under control soon, but it also certainly may have some legs, and it's looking like it's going to. So if you had like an acute COVID-19 related illness, let's say you actually were infected and were sick, that could be a short-term disability situation where it's a shorter period of time where I work due to the illness. But if you have if you're one of those individuals that that are immunocompromised and not able to expose yourself, particularly if you're a medical provider and you're not able to expose yourself to COVID-19, that could be a short-term disability claim followed by a long-term disability claim for an extended period of benefits. So those are things to consider. It just underscores why it's important to understand the benefits that you have and read your policies. If you're not sure, if you're employed and you're not sure what coverage your employer provides, what you've purchased through your employer, reach out to your HR and ask for the policies and plan governing documents for all the benefits that you have, so that you can have all the information so you can make some informed decisions. And of course, if you purchase policies yourself, just pull them out and read them to understand those. So in addition to COVID-19 or LTD, long-term disability claims resulting from an illness or injury caused by COVID-19, we've seen changes in the way we made changes in the way that we're handling the initial claims, appeals, and litigation of long-term disability claims. Leah, could you talk a little bit more about that and some things we're seeing?
Sure. So like you said, this pandemic is affecting everything. So it's affecting the way we're handling claims, appeals, and court litigation. Again, I know we may sound like a broken record, but reading the policy, your disability policy, it's always a good place to start, because that'll explain what your obligations are when filing a claim, appealing a denial, or anything of that nature. So one big issue we're seeing right now is for filing a claim or maintaining a claim, you often need to be in appropriate care and treatment for your disability. That's often a requirement under many of these disability policies. And right now, a lot of doctors' offices are closed altogether, or they're only seeing emergency patients. And so it's becoming a lot harder for claimants to get in to see their doctors, which is one important, not just for their overall health, but again, for their long-term disability claim. And part of that also is to establish a claim, you need to have seen a doctor for your disabling condition. And so again, getting in for treatment is going to be really important. If you can't get in to see a doctor, a lot of doctors are offering telemedicine, so either video appointments or telephone appointments. So if that's an option to you, that's something the claimant should take advantage of. But you want to be careful. These are often seem a little more casual than an in-office appointment, but you want to make sure your doctor is still documenting it like it were a regular visit. You want to make sure you're
and just to pick up on that, what kinds of things should doctors be documenting?
So we want to make sure they're documenting all your symptoms that you're experiencing and how they, physically limit you, perhaps mentally limit you if that's the nature of your condition. If they can document, prior exam findings, so obviously they can't physically examine you now, but if they can document prior exam findings, and if you're reporting that nothing's changed since then, hopefully they can document that. You just want to make sure that you're reporting everything and that the doctor is recording that accordingly, to make sure that'll be documented in a medical note as if it were a regular in-office appointment. And so it's possible that insurance companies, when you're filing a disability claim, might kind of relax this need to be in treatment requirement, but you shouldn't assume that's going to be the case, and you should try to continue treatment for your disabling condition as much as you can. Another concern is for filing a claim or for continuing your claim, you often need doctors to complete forms for you. Often these are called attending physician statements, but they can vary in name from insurance company to insurance company. But they typically ask questions about your conditions, your symptoms, what tests or exams you had done, how your conditions and symptoms limit you, and so forth. We often recommend that claimants make an appointment with their doctor to complete these forms, because that helps ensure that the doctor, again, is reporting everything and is doing so accurately.
And it gives them a chance to see the patient in person, which is it's really important.
Right.
Or can really be helpful in assessing the person's condition.
Right. And again, right now, that might not be possible. So again, we're recommending, telemedicine appointments via phone or video, where possible, to go through those forms with their doctors. And if they can do that, again, make sure your doctor's reporting everything and doing so accurately. And also be careful of the questions the insurance company is asking. They don't always get at what your disability is on those forms. And so you want to make sure your doctor fully addresses your disability and why you're unable to work, and shouldn't necessarily feel limited just to the specific questions the insurance company is asking.
And so fundamentally, we're saying that we're in extraordinary times right now. You can't go about your normal business as usual. It's hard. You don't have the same contact you do with your doctors, but you still have the same policy requirements. And so your long-term disability insurer is going to ask you for the same evidence of disability. And in the short term, I think we've seen some insurers be more lenient. I mean, they've been sorting out how to continue doing business while social distancing as well. And so we've seen some insurers make advance months benefit payments, put off requests for exams and information requests a little bit, but they're going to get back to business and start holding your feet to the fire. So if you're on claim, you can expect that they'll start back up with their reviews once they get their feet under them and figure out how to do business during the lockdown or as restrictions lift. So it's important that you're doing what you reasonably can do to comply with the information requests that you're given, and comply with what your long-term disability policy says you must do.
Absolutely. And if you are having difficulty, make sure you're communicating that and documenting that with the insurance company. Don't just ignore it or let it go and say they'll understand with everything that's going on. Communicate that, document that. Because if you miss deadlines, whether it's to do an update or to submit your claim, you could potentially lose out on your benefits. So just make sure you're communicating with them.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Leah. And just to illustrate the point, if you received a request, let's say you're on claim, or you filed, let's say you filed a claim or you're on claim, and the insurance company is requesting that you have an attending physician statement. That's a form that your doctor, your treating doctor, the doctor that's saying you're disabled, needs to fill out. If they're saying that it must be signed, let's say you had a telemedicine appointment with your physician, and the doctor says, yeah, you're disabled, but I can't get you an ink signature. Well, will the insurance company accept, an electronic signature where it's like, where the doctor types their name in and maybe sends an email or something like that, a secure email? Is there a creative way to get what they're asking for? I mean, if you're not able to see your doctor, let's say you're normally you're working with a specialist, and a specialist has closed their office for a month in response to this. Write to the insurance company. It's fine to have a phone call, but you want to put something in writing to them. Send them an email if you have an email, and say, look, I got your request. I know you're looking for this form to be completed. Dr. So-and-so's office is closed. My condition is not improved. I'm the same. And as soon as I can get with that doctor and communicate with them and be seen, I will get you what you're asked for. But in the meantime, please continue my benefits. It seems like an obvious thing to do, but it's really important to put that in writing and make a record as to what barriers you may be facing to comply with those information requests. You don't want, the situation's tough enough with COVID-19, and you don't want it to be used against you with your claim.
Right. And similar to the doctor's forms, we're also encountering some issues getting medical records, again, because many doctor's offices are closed. And oftentimes when you're
closed and they're closed and they're busy dealing with really hard times. And so just like us, it's totally understandable. They're working with skeleton crews. They're seeing sick patients. And so they're trying to handle their fundamental mission, which is caring for people. And unfortunately, they don't necessarily have the bandwidth right now to deal with the information requests. But Leah will explain how we're working with that.
Right. And so again, when you're filing an initial claim or an update, often you have to submit medical records. In addition to the forms, you often have to submit medical records documenting your treatment. And again, that'll document your exams and your symptoms and stuff like that. Oftentimes the insurance company will request them on your behalf, but ultimately it's the claimant's responsibility to submit them. So you can't assume the insurance company is going to do that. But again, right now we're having a little more trouble getting records, or if we can't get them, it's taking much longer to do so. Again, as you said, they're busy. If they are open, they're very busy, or they might be closed altogether and just not responding to requests. So again, if you are having trouble, communicate that with the insurance company, say I'm working on it, but I'm having difficulty getting them. I'll get them to you as soon as possible. You can also consider submitting other types of medical evidence if you can't get your medical records. One thing you could do is what we call a symptom log, which documents what symptoms you experience day to day, how long you experienced them for in each day, what you did to treat them, how they limited you, and just keep a log each day documenting what your symptoms are, so you can demonstrate that timeline and how your disability affects you on a day-to-day basis. Another thing that we use a lot is if you have family, friends, or coworkers who have seen how your condition has impacted you, you can get written statements from them explaining what they've observed and submit those as well. Additionally, if you have outwardly visible symptoms, you can take photos or take a video of it, anything that helps you document your disability to the insurance company. So don't feel limited just to the forms or medical records. If you can get and submit something else, do it.
And that's great advice, particularly when it's so hard to get medical records right now. So that's good advice. I guess I will say too, we can help. right? We or another experienced long-term disability attorneys can help. I mean, we're using technology, secure technology to transmit information with physicians' offices, with the insurance companies, and so we're up and we're running and we're handling these claims for our clients effectively. So if you're in a position where this is too much to deal with right now, you can reach out to us. Our number is 401-331-6300. It doesn't cost anything to talk to us to see if we can help. And if we can't help, great. But if not, hopefully this video gives you some useful tips. We've talked about some COVID-19 related illness and injury, long-term disability claims. We've talked about some tips if you're making your claim, and if you need to respond to information requests for insurance companies. If you are on claim, Leah, could you talk a little bit about appeals?
Sure. So if your claim is denied or your benefits are terminated, if you're already on claim, you do have the right to appeal that decision. However, there are specific deadlines associated with appealing, and with everything that's going on, those deadlines haven't changed. So if you are denied or terminated and you need to appeal, you should not delay. The appeal is a critical stage for many of these disability claims. Oftentimes, this could be the last opportunity for you to get evidence of your disability into the record before litigation in court. So it's a really important time to make sure all medical evidence is submitted to the insurance company. Oftentimes, this is a good time to get a lawyer like CCK involved because of the importance of the appeal stage.
Yeah, I'll just underscore the appeal deadline. I mean, they're what we call jurisdictional deadlines, and more often than not, if you don't file your appeal to the insurance company on time, you lose your rights to your benefits. You may not even be able to pursue claims in court. Depends on the way the policy is worded, but the consequences of missing a deadline can be catastrophic. And there are instances where you can get extensions. You can reach out to the insurance company and ask them for an extension, but you don't always get them. And when you do get them, you want to make sure that the extensions are confirmed in writing. But I wouldn't count on getting them. And if you didn't get an extension and you miss your deadline, you're not going to have the excuse that, hey, COVID-19 things were shut down. I wouldn't count on that being an excuse for delay. You're really going to meet your deadlines doing that. Okay, Leah, what are some, I guess let's do some bullet point takeaways for the viewers.
Sure. So as we discussed, if you become unable to work due to COVID-19, whether it's you're at high risk, if you were to get it because of a pre-existing health condition, or you've developed something maybe like a psychiatric illness in response to COVID-19, or you've had a worsening of your psychiatric illness, you may be able to file a disability claim. But you need to read your policy in order to understand what kind of coverage you have available to you. If in doubt, file the claim. And you may also either become unable to work or already have a disability claim unrelated to COVID-19, but you're still going to be impacted by this. Make sure, if that's the case, either if you need to file a claim or you need to continue your claim, make sure you're in communication with the insurance company. And again, document in writing. Phone calls are great. Document your phone calls in writing. If possible, use telemedicine or video appointments with your doctor in order to continue treatment, which is great for your health and again will help your disability claim. And if someone is struggling with their claim, they should just file the best evidence they can. Medical records and forms from doctors are obviously the ideal, but symptom logs, statements from family or friends, or photos or videos are also good if you can't get your medical records or your doctors to fill out forms. And if your claim is denied or the insurance company is giving you trouble about your inability to submit medical records or a form from your doctor, people might want to consider getting a long-term disability lawyer involved at that point. They'll have the right to appeal if their claim is denied or benefits are terminated, but there is limited time to do so, so they shouldn't delay.
Thanks, Leah. And we are long-term disability lawyers here. It costs nothing to talk to us to see if we can help you. We represent people sometimes on a contingency basis, sometimes on an hourly basis. But if it's a contingency basis, you don't pay us anything out of pocket. If you're having difficulty with your long-term disability claim, if you have questions, you think you want help, I'd encourage you to reach out. If you're handling this yourself, I hope that some of these tips helped you. They're going to help you out here. I wish you all to stay safe and take care of each other. Thanks very much.
Thank you.